Hi, and welcome to the Deliciously Feminine series. I'm your host, Nicole Elissa, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Lillie Claire Love. I love her energy, and she's all about self-love, sexuality, and intimacy. Welcome, Lillie. Excited to have you
Thank
today.
you so much, Nicole. Yeah, I'm really excited to connect with you and everyone who's watching.
I love that. So, before we start, could you really share with the audience a little bit about yourself, the work that you do, and why you're so inspired and fired up about it? That would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, so the work that I do, basically, I'm a Tantra teacher, and that incorporates multiple kind of modalities, including meditation, breath work, yoga, sacred sexuality, sacred relationship work. And it comes from an ancient lineage in India. Although there are many different traditions around the world that have Tantra, they just have a different name for it.
Mm.
I came from a very kind of disempowered place in my confidence. I had very low self-esteem. I was engaging in self-harm and destructive behaviors, and especially around my sex life was very quite destructive. And so I had hit my rock bottom about 6 years ago, and then there was really nowhere else for me to go other than inward. So I had been constantly looking for my validation and my worth and my purpose outside of myself, in relationships and career and different things. And then it came to this point, okay, I have to actually go within and start to confront and bring compassion, awareness, and forgiveness to the parts of me that I've been running from, to the parts of me that I don't like about myself, to the parts of me that were in pain. So by doing that, my path led me to Tantra, and worked with many different amazing teachers. Sama Sadora is one. And it completely transformed my life from the inside out. And there's just absolutely no going back. It, first of all, brings up those parts of you, like I was talking about, that you don't want to look at. And you've got to really choose willingly to spend time and be with those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings, belief systems. And then what Tantra does is it gives you practical tools to actually be with the energy first, and then transform it into something productive, into something healing, and so that you can actually start to integrate all of the parts of you back into wholeness, rather than often if we have some kind of trauma, and all of us have some element of trauma, being a human being, we get kind of fragmented and separated in our energy, and that shows up in our body, that shows up in our relationships and different things. And so when we actually start to bring all those parts back together, and have healing and compassion for all of that, then we can become whole and feel fulfilled, and actually start to create the life that we want to live, instead of, again, going outside of ourselves and trying to mask and band-aid things. So that's kind of a quick version of like my journey and how I got here. And a big piece about Tantra is sexuality. So in a lot of different traditions, even in kind of spiritual communities like the yoga community, sexuality is very separate. It's not really discussed, not really talked about. It's kind of taboo. But what we have to do as a culture, and as individuals, is start to embrace sexuality again, so that there can be healing for that, so there can be integration in our individual lives, our relationships, and as a society. because you look in our society, especially the Western world, and sex is so, it's like it's all over the media, you know, in music video clips and film and different things, but it's so objectified. And when we're objectifying something, it's because we haven't actually embraced it and integrated it. We have to kind of like do it behind closed doors and then you know, put it up and exploit it rather than see the sacredness in it and how that sex and sexuality is, I mean, we came into this world through sexuality. You know, we two people had to have sex for you to exist. So it has to be a big part of our life. And there would be so much that would be healed in our culture if we were able to do that. So Tantra is a beautiful path to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, so many different questions came up for me when you were talking. uh, so, sex. There is this notion that I see a lot of the time from women's where it's kind of like you said, you know, they treat sex something as that happens like behind doors, or they only explore that side of themselves when, you know, they're in a really closed off space where nobody else can see them. Maybe it's just, you know, them or their partner. And there's this feeling of guilt and a shame, like shame attached to it. And I noticed that it when somebody says the word wholesome, right, normally they don't really integrate sex into the picture, right, when it should be. So one of the greatest things that I've actually heard from some of my, you know, the books that I've read growing up, like, you know, the amazing transformational books like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and, you know, other books, they always talk about using your sexual energy, integrating your sexual energy and allowing it to transmute it and use it in a way that's productive to the world. Yeah. So that's something that you mentioned, and I believe that it would be really helpful for this audience to know more about how they can use their sexual energy to create more in this world without feeling depleted or like from energy and all these different things. Can you talk a little bit about how do you use your sexual energy in this world, and what are some of like the mishaps, or, you know, what could actually happen if you don't really use your sexual energy and you just like use other parts of your body to do things?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to realize and recognize that sexual energy is creative energy. So again, using the example of you were created through two people having sex, or you can create a baby, you can create life inside of yourself by that sexual energy coming together. And so sexual energy is creative energy. And if we are not in touch with that root source of creative energy in our life, it's like the foundation energy of our life, and we're just trying to operate from creating from our mind, then we're missing out on a lot of potential. And it's actually when we get connected with that creative sexual energy, things are created, are manifested, are attracted to us with so much more ease, because the mind, and in the Western culture, we're mostly living from our head. And so we're very logical and rational, and we've got a lot of, you know, fear thoughts and a lot of, well, that's not going to work out, or I can't, or, you know, what if? But when we actually drop out of the mind and come into the body and come into the sexual center for women, into our vagina, into our womb space, our ovaries, our creative potential place, and for men, you know, into their sex center, into the perineum, then we actually are dropping into the energy of creation, and we don't have to push. We don't have to try so hard. We don't have to work so hard to see results. We actually drop into that space. We use the tools of breath, of movement, of really coming back into the body, of visualization, and cultivating and nurturing that energy so that everything funnels through that rather than us being separate from that and just trying to like bang it out, right?
Yeah.
So the energy of the sexual energy and even the body is more of a feminine energy. So in Tantra, we look at feminine and masculine energy, or you could even say yin and yang. So the feminine energy is all about attracting. It's about receiving. It's about being like magnetizing what you desire into your life, rather than the masculine energy is much more about an outward pushing kind of motion that's very much more linear and rational and logical. And they're both important, and we need both, and they can actually harmonize and work together. But our culture is so dominant in the masculine energy. And so right now, you know, if you are in the spiritual community, you'll witness and hear and be a part of, you know, this whole like goddess rising movement, you know, and that's not just like a fun, cute, like, you know, we wear hippie skirts and bindis on our head. But this is actually like a real energy of the feminine energy in the world. Like the earth is Mother Earth. And our body represents that feminine energy. So by coming back to the body and coming into your sexual energy, making peace with it and cultivating it in a healthy way, then you can actually co-create with that energy, and in a way that's much more receptive and flowing and pleasurable and fun and magnetizing. So we would all benefit in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, you know, what could happen if we don't work with that energy, or if we're not working with our sexual energy in a way that is like healing, or we're conscious of it and mindful of it, then it plays out in our life in can be destructive ways. Like, you know, where we're not conscious of who we sleep with, where, you know, we can get, you know, obviously there's sexual diseases, and there's a lot of abuse in our life. And so on I guess like one level, you could just be numb to it, and you could just not have a lot of passion and joy in your life, not have a lot of ease and fun and freedom and pleasure, and sex for you might just be like a release, you know, and that's what our society mainly operates on. It's like we get like pleasure release, or we're like stressed because we're working so much, and then we need that pleasure as a release, rather than that pleasure actually working with it and allowing that to fuel our life, fuel our dreams and our what we're going towards. So most of society operates in this stress release in relation to their pleasure, of their sexual energy.
It's you know, that's awesome. You know, everything that you've mentioned about like using that pleasure and allowing it to carry you forward, right? Inspiring you to move forward. And this is fascinating to me because I used to be like, when I was in high school, like my classmates would call me like Nicole Stress. I hated it, right? And at the same time, I was using you know, stress or all the projects that I would take on as a way to like prove my worth and always keep busy. And I know that a lot of times, like women, you know, when we are connected to that state of pleasure, we have been, you know, pointed and you know, made wrong sometimes for wanting to experience pleasure, for even just sometimes wanting to relax. Mm-hmm. And we feel guilty about that. So some of the conversations that I really see is that sometimes women might think, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the spa, but it's like some sort of like guilty indulgence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it has to be like at the last breaking point, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not often, and the sex is like all about like the release piece. So some of the ways that I've seen women really block themselves from receiving pleasure and from connecting through their true essence sometimes is through like numbness, like numbing yourself out of reality, maybe because you're scared of getting hurt, or what other fear is there?
I mean, we have such like you're saying, we have such a warped perception around sexuality, and that's been passed down through religion and through generations, and because we fear that energy, and we fear it because it's very powerful, and engaging in tantra is a very powerful practice, and you do have to be very aware and mindful of it. Otherwise, that energy could get out of control if you're not being mindful with it.
Mm-hmm.
And but historically, we saw when the church kind of came in like 5,000 years ago, because before that there were so many cultures and religions, practices that were very based in worshiping the feminine aspect of God as well as the masculine, and worshiping the female body and worshiping our Mother Earth and things like that. And then when the patriarchal church came in, it kind of went, okay, let's take sex and spirit, sex and God, and we'll separate them. And that way we get to control the people, and, we get to be the ones in power, because we know that this energy is powerful and women are powerful. So let's do that. So that's just like passed down for all this time, and we are where we are right now, and we're making shifts on that. And so how that really plays out in our individual lives, even if we haven't been brought up in a religious home, there's still this warped kind of concept of sexuality. And especially for it affects men and women differently. For men, it's much more of a like, my sexuality and my ability to please a woman, to give her an orgasm, that is that shows like I'm a man. My manhood, my validation of being a man is in how much pleasure I can give a woman. But there's a real like problem with that, because then it's not really about like what does she want and how does she feel and all of these things. It's much more about like, I've got to please her, I've got to be the man. And that's a disconnection. And then for women, we really have a wounding around our sexuality, or our ability again to please a man is a representation of how feminine I am, how worthy I am, how pretty I am, how sexy I am, is a reflection of my worth and my purpose, even as women.
So how does a woman start to shift that?
Yeah, we are shifting that. But yeah, so this, talking about this, probably 30 years ago we couldn't really even talk about this, but we have to, especially for younger women and men, to bring back that connection of God or spirit with sexuality, and to start to recognize the divinity and the sacredness and the specialness of our sexuality and the connections that we can have.
Yeah.
Because, we're so disconnected from our heart and our sex center. They're like, living in different planets, and again, our head as well. But if we can start to open our heart and cultivate a healthy relationship with our sexuality and join those two like a bridge, then we can start to experience sexuality and true intimacy. You know, true, like, into me I see, into you I see. I'm present with you. I'm allowing you in. I allow me to see you, and I allow you to see me. And we can do that when we're being sexual as well. You know, even people who are in love don't always have a very deep emotional sex life, because there's this disconnection between the heart and the sex center.
How does one start to connect like the heart center with the sex center, and
Yeah.
why somebody wants to do that? Like, why would like the female like audience will want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, why you would want to do it is if you really want to have a deeply real and loving relationship with not only yourself, because it has to start with yourself, but with other people and with a partner, with a life partner. So if you really want that, like, you know, real love that we have so many movies about, but I'm not sure that they're always the right representation of, because I think, you know, real relationship takes communication, it takes a lot, but really what it takes is a lot of acceptance and a lot of commitment to being vulnerable. So being open-hearted means being vulnerable, which we don't want to do because then we're afraid of getting hurt. But if we want to have that kind of deep love and that fulfilling sexual life, which also fulfills our creative and our career and our financial life, then we have to be willing to risk feeling hurt sometimes and knowing that that's just part of the journey. So it's a very brave thing, courageous thing to do, to go, I want to learn to be vulnerable and allow someone to really see all of the parts of me. And I'm going to be brave enough to see all of the parts of this person and love and accept them. And I'm going to be brave enough to connect my sexual center, my desire with my heart, and allow that intimacy in sexual intimate moments.
Yeah.
Because, you know, many of us in society are having sex, but it's not intimate. So if you want that.
Yeah. You were saying?
And you said how. So how, I mean, first it has to be that choice, that decision. Like, I would rather, you know, get my heart hurt sometimes, be disappointed in my partner sometimes, you know, feel the abandonment sometimes, but knowing that I'm committed, and that by being committed, I'm going to attract a partner who's committed to this also, to opening up this realm. So it first starts with that big commitment, the willingness, and then practicing different exercises and different things. So Tantra provides some beautiful exercises, and how about I just show you some?
You read my mind. So like, do you have like some sort of like exercise to help women like connect like their hearts and, you know, their sex center? That would be great. I'm all in.
Yeah. Okay. So first, allow yourself to just close your eyes and feel your feet and your legs and your buttocks and your whole body, and just take a really deep breath in to your belly. So if you can let your belly just be relaxed and soft, you don't need to hold it. Take a big breath in and a big exhale, and just relax your jaw and your shoulders. And I want you to bring your attention from your mind down into your pelvic floor, and into your womb space, just imagining this whole area. And if you want, you can bring your hands kind of like an upside down triangle onto your womb space, and breathe into your hands. And a deep, slow exhale. And again, breathing into your hands, into your womb space, and just simply making a connection with this center, saying, I'm connecting with my sexual center, with my womb space, even if this is the first time you've ever done it in this way before. Just kind of say hello down there. And keep breathing, long, deep, slow breaths. The deepest breaths you can take in and out through your nose. And you can keep this breathing becoming a little more audible by creating a little constriction in your throat. So if you do yoga, they call it ujjayi breath. In Tantra, we like to call it the bliss breath or the ocean breath. And so it sounds like the ocean coming in and the ocean going out. And just allow this to be relaxing to you. Allow this to start to help you to drop deeper into your sex center, just making connection. And now you want to start to squeeze and pulse your pelvic floor. So it's like Kegel exercises. It's like you're squeezing your pelvic floor, like your PC muscles, to stop yourself from going pee. And then you'll release it on the exhale. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And exhale and release the squeeze. So we're inhaling, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, release, release, release. So we're just activating this area, activating up deep into the cervix. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And exhale, release, release, release. You can give just a very gentle push down with your muscles on the exhale. Inhale, squeeze. Think deep inside the walls of your vagina also when you squeeze, even if you can't feel it. Just imagine it's a muscle, so it will build like any muscle when you practice. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, release. And now what we're going to do is we're going to imagine as you inhale and squeeze this ball of light in your cervix starting to grow. Every inhale and exhale, this light grows and it starts to fill and spread throughout your whole pelvic bowl, all the way across your tummy and even your lower back. And as you inhale, squeeze, 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 this light starts to move up through the center of your body into your solar plexus at your navel. And your next inhale, you're going to draw this ball of light all the way up into your heart. Squeeze, 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 and the light, even if you're just imagining it, comes up into your heart center in the middle of your chest. And exhale. And inhale and spread this light now through your heart and through your breasts and all the way even into your nipples, lighting yourself up with this feminine creative energy, this sensual energy. And let this energy be healing and positive. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bring the light up to your heart. Spread it all the way through your chest, through your throat. And exhale, the light can come back down and meet back to your pelvic floor. So now you're going to move the light by inhaling and squeezing up to your heart. And then the exhale, the light's going to go back down your spine and meet back to your cervix. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bring the light to your heart. And exhale, breathing from your heart down to your sex center. So you can keep kind of looping this energy of bringing my sexual energy to my heart And then my heart energy down to my sex. And I'm making this connection. And affirmations are really beautiful too, so you can speak out loud or think to yourself. I'm allowing my sexual energy to move into my heart, and my heart energy to connect with my sex. It is safe for me to feel my own sexual energy. It is safe for me to feel pleasure. It is safe for me to open my heart. I have my own back. I have my own boundaries. I can speak my truth. So it is safe for me to open my heart, and it is safe for me to connect my heart with my sex center. It is safe for me to be intimate. It is safe for me to be vulnerable. I allow myself to be vulnerable and intimate with those that I choose. I allow myself to be vulnerable and intimate with myself. And so take one more deep breath and feel the sensations in your body. Notice as you complete the squeezing how it feels in your whole sex center, how it feels in your heart. Just noticing the physical sensations and the energetic sensations, and noticing any thoughts or feelings or memories that might have even come up. All of those things are keys for us in what we need to bring attention to heal, to release, to bring forgiveness to make peace with, to integrate. So that's one practice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's really just like building this very sensual, beautiful, gentle bridge between the two. And giving yourself permission is, probably the biggest thing that you can do to start to cultivate that. And there are many other practices. We're talking about, you learned to practice from my teacher, and that's a really beautiful, powerful one. And just really quickly, so it's lift your hands up into the air, and that's a really energizing and fun one. So you imagine that you're pulling the energy from the universe down into yourself, and you pull that down, and then you release sound on the exhale, and you can say ha or yes, something positive. You can call out what you want. So it goes like this: inhale up and exhale yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. This is hilarious. I feel like the camera couldn't handle all this bliss.
Into your deep.
Lily, are you there?
And that's kind of bringing the, the universal energy back to.
Are you there? This is what happens when you channel a lot of chi energy in the middle of an interview. Like we lose transmission for a little bit. So let's just wait to see if we get her back. This is all about being vulnerable. I love it. So let me just check something here. Hmm. Um, awesome. So we're back. It's so funny how that happens, right? We both ended up being like this, like yes. I take that to mean like a really powerful statement from the universe that we're ready to receive in a bigger way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. So you were in the process of doing like this, and
I was in the process of yesing.
yes.
Of pulling in what we want. And so the way that you would, you want to build it up, and it's fun too, because you can build up the sound to almost sound like an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really fun.
Yeah.
And then you want to end with your hands up and just breathe in and feel the energy. And it feels kind of like raining energy down your hands. Mm-hmm. Feel that coming down into your heart space. And then you want to kind of hug the energy in, one hand on your heart and one on your belly, your sex center, and breathe that energy into your cells, into your DNA, and just really plant that seed inside of yourself, that intention, whether it's something that you're manifesting, you're calling in, or you're really just wanting to align with and cultivate and connect with your own sexual, sensual, creative energy.
I love that. Quite the journey, right? Quite the journey. So this is a really beautiful practice, and I can attest to this. Like whenever you do this practice, like your energy is like you feel like with more energy, you feel more passionate, you feel more in your body. So for those of you who are asking like how can I like be more in my body and like experience life in a different way, this is like a really powerful exercise, which also adds intention, what helps you connect to that creative energy so that you really feel like life is happening to you or for you. So I wanted to ask you, Lillie, like, is there a specific way that as a woman we can like increase our container of receiving? I've heard about this like from a few experts where they say like maybe your container for receiving is like really small. So sometimes we might want something, but the container is small. Like, have you heard about this topic before?
Yeah, well, I think basically it comes down to self-worth and what our belief systems are around receiving and around, how we have to push and force and work hard to make things happen. And so by doing this work, you're going to be cultivating and opening up your container, expanding your container to be able to receive. The more time you cultivate and nurture and spend time with awareness, with your sexual energy, with your feminine energy, then you're expanding that container to receive, because you're then in your body. You're not, stuck in your mind. You're coming to a space of opening up the infinite possibilities for how things can come about. And you're in that energy of magnetizing, of receiving, of attracting things to you. So, and we talked about this in what you said, coming back to the body. And so by doing practices that bring you back to your body, back to creating like a loving, accepting, fun relationship with your body, seeing your body as sacred, all of these things help you to expand that level of receiving. And they bring to surface all of the places where you need to look at to bring, love to, so that you can receive. So if we have a belief system, like, no, I have to work really hard to be able to have money, or I have to look a certain way to be able to attract this man, then we're not going to receive what we truly desire. because we're stuck in some limiting belief system, rather than really allowing yourself to come back to what's true for you, and to realizing that it's your birthright to receive goodness, to have pleasure in your life. And it helps you to see the parts of yourself where maybe you're saying, I want a man who is really loyal and honest, but maybe there's an aspect that you're not being loyal or honest to yourself. So we actually start to look at the places where, well, I can't because I can't receive something that I am not in alignment to, that I'm not resonating a vibration on. So I can't receive that like loyal and honest man if I can't even do that with myself. And so by doing these practices, you actually bring those things to the light. And instead of, when that stuff comes up, instead of going like, oh, like, I've got so much work to do, I've got so many parts of me that I have to heal or change or whatever. Like, no, this is come up for a reason, so that you can look at it and get some space from it and be objective with it and learn how to shift it, rather than it just being your norm, your reality.
Yeah. Thank you. That it's I was just noticing our faces after the yes practice, and there was just so much bliss and shine, and we were like, in the zone, right? So like, this is a difference. If you can look at the two videos, ladies, you can notice.
Yeah, I totally.
So, Lillie, I wanted to ask you, because I like to channel whatever question might come up for the audience. I always try to embody that, so I can bring that to the audience and really provide great value. Is there, I don't know if this is possible, or if there's a way to do this, or if it's something that you touch in Tantra. Is this some sort of like breath exercise, or something that you recommend for women to really clear a limitation that caps them from receiving?
Yeah, the breath exercise I would recommend would be called breath of arousal. It's also called breath of fire. Or so you're focusing on basically your solar plexus, your stomach area, and it's a pretty powerful breath, and it's going to be in and out through the nose in a fast kind of sneezing motion. And you're going to contract your belly button back and forth towards your spine. So it looks like this. Inhale, and then pump the belly and the breath. And you can close your eyes. And I'll show you my belly. Pump, 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 pump. And take a deep breath. And a deep exhale. And just notice the sensations in your body again. And calm yourself down with that long, slow bliss ocean breath. And so that breath is really, it's a fire breath. It is a detoxifying, cleansing breath. So what it's doing is it's breaking up all of the stuck points in our body. And our body holds memory, and our body holds emotion, our body holds trauma, our body holds belief systems, our body holds what our ancestors, what trauma they had in our DNA. And so we have disease and, sore pains in our body. All of that comes out of these belief systems and unprocessed emotions and different things that we're kind of holding onto, and we become blocked up. If you think of a pipe, the energy, again, that sexual energy from our pelvis can't move freely through us. And and manifest things to us if it's all, that pipe is all blocked up with like resentment and scarcity and all these different things. And so that breath is like pumps it out, breaks all of that like knots up, and again brings the things to the surface so that we can heal it, so and clear it and get that clear movement through our life. And so if you do that practice for, I would say just begin with 1 minute. So in the morning is a great time to do it because it's also a very enlivening practice. It's an energizing practice, but at the same time it's relaxing. So if you do it for a minute, set your timer, and if you can work up to 5 minutes a day, even if you want to break that up, like have a little break in between and then go back to it and work up to the 5 minutes, you will notice things shifting, not only in your physical body, in your emotions, in your thoughts, but in your actual life as well. And when you do that practice, spend time after you do that intense breathing in the bliss ocean breath and just noticing parts in your body that maybe become tense or tightened or aggravated, because those are clues. So if you look at the chakra system, all of those parts of the body that the chakras are in are related to different developmental parts of us, and they're related to different emotions and different things like that. So say if you get a pain in your shoulder on your left side, then this is basically between your heart and your throat. So it's something to do with your heart, your level of being vulnerable and intimate, and your self-expression, your expression of your truth, of your boundaries, of asking for what you want. And then the left side of the body is your feminine side, whereas opposed to the right side of your body is the masculine. So it's amazing what the body can tell us when we listen to it. And, do some journaling about what comes up and to clear that.
Yeah, I love that. Do you recommend for the audience to, like, whenever they do the breath of fire exercise, do you recommend them to have an intention of what they want to clear, or what limitation they want to remove?
Yeah, you could do that for sure. Before you start, I would just breathe a little bit and set an intention, whether that's something specific that you want to clear and let go of and release, and then afterwards, again, you can place your hand on your belly and your heart and just breathe in, knowing that you have broken up the energy, the blocked energy, and released it. Or if you don't know, then just go for it and see what comes out.
I love it. So basically it would be kind of like in this order, maybe I'm guessing it's like the breath of fire, and to connect with the other practices that we did before. Is that correct? Or does it really matter?
I mean, you could create your own little ritual with these practices. You could do the breath of fire would be a great one to do first, because you break everything up, especially if you get stuck thinking in your mind a lot. Then that really it breaks up all of your thoughts. And then I would do probably the yes breath, calling in what you want or calling back your own energy, and then do that more calming, relaxing, connecting my sex to my heart center. And just to mention, doing central movement, like hip circles and things like that, are really powerful for this practice as well for women.
I love that. It's one of the things that I always say to the experts on Today Out is I really like, providing great value. So thank you so much for being so open and sharing with the audience, because I know when we talk about it being in the body versus the mind, a lot of women are yeah, but what does that mean, right? And you've provided a lot of clear examples for them to really feel it through. Breath of fire is something that's really intense. I think that I've only been able to master it kind of around 5 minutes. I remember the first time that somebody told me do it for 11 minutes, and I was that was my immediate response. But It's like if you say like if we can just take like a little break here and then continue, but just really focus on clearing that all of that energy. And
Mm.
it's always such a huge shift when you use the body. So the reason why I wanted to bring you today, Lillie, is because in the self-development work, we talk a lot about the mind, we talk a lot about the spirit, and we don't talk about the body.
Mm.
And that's such a huge part to this process. And it's like, that's why there's so many different women that are consuming like all these different products and just like meditation and spirit and prayer and everything. And what about the body? If we
Yeah.
forget about it, it's like, it's no wonder you're only getting like half results.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been the biggest transformational tool for me to come back into union with my body that I've ever done, because I did a lot of like rewiring my mind and prayer and all those different things. But again, it's like those are spiritual, etheric concepts, and it's like we're here now on earth in a physical human body. We get to experience all these beautiful senses of touch, taste, sound, sight, and so let's actually bring that connection back with spirit and the physical and the body, and so many messages and inspiration and different things come through our body. So it's beautiful.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this. So before we end, like I would love to ask you, like in your opinion, what makes a woman feel delicious?
What makes a woman feel delicious is when she is honestly connected with her source, her core, her center of who she is, of what's important to her, what her values are, and she can live from that place. I believe when we're connected to that instead of what we think we should do or what others think we should do, then we don't need anything. We feel fulfilled, and we feel centered and grounded and strong and vibrant, and we know what to do. We know, the answers to our own questions. We're like our own guru.
I love that. Yeah, totally. So, Lady, thank you so much for being part of this today. You've been an amazing, of amazing value to this audience. Thank you, like, for your life, for like everything that you do. And I also know that you have a gift, right? Like, there's a gift that you have for this audience. So, after these exercises, I know that the ladies here are like, yeah, I want more. So, can you share a little bit about your gift?
Yeah, so the gift is a free download for my ebook. It's a Jade Yoni Egg Practice ebook. And so those squeezes that we were doing earlier, the jade egg, or there's different kinds of crystals. There's the rose quartz for self-love, or black obsidian, which is really extracts the negative energy and trauma in your sex center. And the jade is very balancing for hormones, really great for fertility. So these crystal eggs are kind of like a little vagina gym. And so the same way you go and you work out your muscles with barbells, then it provides this resistance for your muscles to get stronger, right? And so jade eggs, or yoni eggs, provide this resistance when you do that squeezing. And also they have beautiful healing properties in them. And they have actually been being used in China and India for about 5,000 years. So that is probably, if you don't do anything else, the number one practice that you could do that will transform your sex life, your creative life, your money, your love life, your body, everything. And so you'll get a free copy of that. And then for those who would like to work with me, if you feel connected to this work and you want to really dive deeper, then on the next page, once you've downloaded that book, you can fill out a questionnaire to work with me, and we'll have a free 30-minute session to start. So yeah, I look forward to anybody who feels called to that.
Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing. I just want to share that I feel inspired to dance right now. So that's what I'm going to do after this.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, get Aphrodite on.
exactly. So if anybody like you know what it is, like I feel inspired to like to dance. If you feel called to go and eat chocolate and do something pleasurable for you, like awesome, go for it because this was the
Savor
purpose of this
it.
conversation. So thank you so much once again, Lily. I'm really grateful to have you in this conversation and talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. Thanks for doing this for all the women.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.